There's a part in the Gospels which has created a lot of confusion for many readers. This is when Jesus is basically in front of the judge leading up to his crucifixion and he's being questioned. For Matthew 26, the high priest said to him, "I charge you under oath by the living God. Tell us if you are the Messiah, the Son of God." "You have said so," Jesus replied. Sometimes understanding the Bible is not straightforward. I went through a phase where I tried to always read the Bible with a fresh set of eyes, just putting aside all the assumptions and the things that I had been told and trying to figure it all out for myself. I remember what that felt like. Like the Bible was a big puzzle and you're just trying to fit everything together. You start by trying to identify the things that you're certain about and then go from there. Then you run into a verse like this, and you really aren't sure what to do with it. You put a question mark by it and leave it for later. The confusion about this passage is totally justified. Jesus said, "You have said so." What kind of a response is that? Is he saying yes or is he saying no? Maybe he's saying no, like, "You say that I am the Messiah, the Son of God, but I'm not saying that. You're putting words in my mouth." Or, "You keep saying this about me, but you won't even listen to me." Coincidentally, this is the interpretation taken by the Billboard topping rock opera Jesus Christ Superstar. They have Jesus saying, "I didn't say that," but also in a way that is generally confused. Or maybe Jesus felt defeated and was saying something like, "If you say so," or "Whatever you say, you aren't going to give me a fair trial, you're just going to do whatever you want." And it sounds kind of sassy. "You have said so?" I can imagine it being said with the same tone as, "No, you are," or "I know you are, but what am I?" or "Stop hitting yourself." "You have said so." Was this intended to be disrespectful? Why not just answer the question? So, there are a lot of questions surrounding this phrase, and I want to provide some clarity. When we read the words, we think about how unusual it is and how strange it would be to give an answer like that in our current modern context. However, this is not a selection of words that Jesus just pulled out of the ether. One of an infinite combination of possible words carefully selected with the purpose of stupefying his audience. Rather, it's a phrase that he has probably used many times before. Jesus himself is recorded using the same phrase in the next chapter in Matthew 27:11 when he's brought before the Roman governor Pontius Pilate, and that event is also recorded in Mark 15:2 and Luke 23:3. But most significantly, he uses the exact same phrase during the Last Supper. Jesus replied, "The one who has dipped his hand into the bowl with me will betray me. The Son of Man will go just as it is written about him. But woe to that man who betrays the Son of Man. It would be better for him if he had never been born." Then Judas, the one who would betray him, said to him, "Surely you don't mean me, Rabbi." Jesus answered, "You have said so." These are the exact same words, even in the Greek in which the Gospels were written. What's so significant about this example is that it's an entirely different context than the trial in which Jesus originally spoke, and it gives us clues about how the phrase can be used. Firstly, it doesn't appear to be sassy. While I suppose it is possible, it just doesn't seem like the proper context. It seems like a simple confirmation. And it is a confirmation. At this time, Jesus knew that Judas was the one who would betray him, and Judas did as well. In fact, Judas had asked this question already knowing that he was indeed the betrayer. So we can forget about all our theories that this might be denial or at least a cryptic reply intended to obfuscate. Jesus knew that Judas would betray him, and he told him so to his face. So, what explains the fact that Jesus used this same phrase again and again? There definitely are some people who make up their own phrases and repeat them frequently. But I think it is more likely that this was a simple Aramaic idiom, a saying that would have been common in their culture and would have been easily understood by anyone who heard it. Like kill two birds with one stone, or there's more than one way to skin a cat. But probably a simpler phrase like fair enough, or so what, or tell me about it, or you bet. The thing about idioms is that they are hard to understand. Basically, by definition, they can have ideas baked in that aren't apparent until you know the meaning, and that can make them difficult or even impossible to crack with pure logical analysis. If I say that I spilled the beans or let the cat out of the bag, you would know immediately what I meant, but someone unfamiliar with these idioms might be confused. Why are you keeping a cat in a bag? That's a cruel thing to do. What kind of a person are you? And if you ask someone who didn't already know what spill the beans means, you could give them any amount of time and it would still be a guess. You can make it a take home test, and no amount of reasoning is going to sort it out. And in addition to the informational content, the message of an idiom can carry a certain flavor to it. Like if you told someone to put a sock in it, or shut their trap, or as my nephews love to say to each other, in your face. And this principle goes beyond idioms. For example, I have it on good authority that Arabic is the best language to curse in due to the humorous and flavorful meanings of their vulgarities. With all these considerations in mind, I'm not going to pretend to have some infallible insight into 2,000-year-old Aramaic. Neither will I propose that the meaning of you have said so can be untangled by way of pure reason. But from seeing the ways that Jesus used it, I think we can safely say that it is a confirmation and that it would have been understood by his audience. And if I were forced to speculate, I would guess that it's a shorthand way of saying, yes, it is as you say. But regardless of the precise meaning, the phrase is a simple confirmation, not a cryptic riddle, not a fervent plea, or a sassy retort. You have said so.